weapons that they know how to use as well, and they're licensed and authorized to use those weapons. But when this morning arrives, this Sunday morning, this resurrection morning that we celebrate now, the ground shakes, the stone rolls away, Jesus comes to life out of the tomb, and then there's angels that are there celebrating the fact that Jesus is alive. And so these soldiers, or these guards, they leave. They go back to the Jewish leadership, and Matthew records this in Matthew chapter 28. It says that the guards went into the city and they reported to the chief priests everything that had happened. When the chief priests had met with the elders and devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of money, telling them, "You are to say this: His disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this report gets to the governor, we'll satisfy him and we'll keep you out of trouble." So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed, and this story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. Now think about this for a second, okay? These are police officers or members of the military. And so, let's say it's a police officer first. Let's just say it's a police officer here in Cedar Springs. And so, this police officer in Cedar Springs is going to go back to Chief Parent and say, "Hey Chief, I fell asleep last night. I know you gave me the night watch. I know I was on that graveyard shift and I was supposed to be watching this, but I got to be honest with you. It's been a long day and I just went to sleep." That's it. How do you think the chief would respond to that? Think you'd be really happy with that? Or what about the soldiers? Can you imagine a soldier going to a sergeant, going to one of the officers, going to a lieutenant, and saying, "Sir, just want to let you know, I fell asleep on duty last night." How do you think that would go over? That'd go over really well, right? Okay, so obviously these religious leaders aren't thinking this through very well. You know, "We'll pay you, but go and say this." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, that's a good story." But now think about this other thing though. You go and tell them this. "At night while we were asleep, the disciples came and stole his body." At night while we were asleep. How do you know who came to steal their body while you were asleep? I mean, if you're sleeping, you don't know what's going on, right? You're not aware that anybody's showing up at this time. You're asleep. So you see, when they kind of came up with this story really quickly on the spot. They're like, let's see, let's tell them you're asleep. Yeah, you're asleep. And while you're asleep, this happens. It doesn't take very much deductive reasoning. We don't need Sherlock Holmes to figure this out and say, "You know what, there's a lot of holes in this story." And that's the reason why I don't think that this conspiracy theory really gained much traction. But you know the other reason why I don't think it gained much traction? Is because I think that we want to believe in a resurrection story. We want to believe that Jesus actually did what he said he was going to do, that God brought him back to life. Because see, if we don't have that, then what we're left to struggle with is to say,